Inshallah, we're going to be carrying on with the program from yesterday, which is the question and answer. And just a quick reminder before we start that obviously this is the last lecture of the series, and we'd really like to thank Sheikh Bahmanpour and obviously Sheikh Shamali as well for the early lectures. This Friday we'll be commencing again with the Thought Forum program, 7 p.m. So please tell all your friends and family to come and join us, inshallah, this Friday. So if it's okay with you, Sheikh, we're going to just go straight into the questions. First one is a very timely one. Is Eid prayer wajib, and can one do it on his own?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا وحبيبنا حبيب إله العالمين محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين. First of all, congratulations for having completed the fast, and for those of you who celebrated today and those who celebrate tomorrow, inshallah, Allah will give us the gift which He has reserved for the day of Eid. Usually on the day of Eid, people receive gifts, and certainly both on Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr, we expect that Allah gifts us from His bounties and His mercy. And also, just before answering the question, do not forget that tonight is one of those nights in which Ihya is very much recommended, to spend the night in prayers, in worship, in doing salat, and thank Allah for giving us the strength to complete the fast of the month, and asking Him to give us the reward of those who did it correctly and those who took the full benefit of the month, inshallah. And tomorrow, of course, Salatul Eid is one of those occasions where we come together, we ask together for Allah's bounties. We say, Allahumma ahl al-kibriya wal-azamah, wa ahl al-jud wal-jabarut, wa ahl al-afw wal-rahmah, wa ahl al-taqwa wal-maghfirah. We call Allah upon by His names to accept our fast and to give our gifts. And of course, the gifts He gives, no matter how much we have done and how good we have performed, the gift is going to be great, inshallah. Now, of course, at the time of Ghaiba for Shias, at the time of Ghaiba, Salatul Eid is not wajib, at the time of the occultation of the Imam, but it's heavily recommended to do it in Jama'ah. It could be performed at home, but of course the benefits that we get doing it in Jama'ah with other people, coming together, celebrating together, we do not get that sawab. So the straightforward answer is that it's not wajib, but it's strongly recommended, and it's strongly recommended to be done in Jama'ah rather than to be done at home.
Following on from that, there's a question that says, we have one moon in the sky, why is there 3 Eids, and how to solve the problem to have one Eid, if indeed there's a problem?
You see, the problem is not with us, the problem is with the moon. It does not appear to everyone at the same time. That's the problem, you see. If it could have been seen everywhere at the same time, then there would have been no problem. Because people in different regions in the world see the moon on different nights, then the problem comes. Okay, what is the duty? What is the obligation with regards to breaking the fast? When the Prophet, peace be on him, said, for example, Sum lil-ru'ya wa aftar lil-ru'ya, start fast by viewing the moon and break fast by viewing the moon. Did he mean that if others see it in other part of the world, that would be the time when I should break it, or I have to see it in my own locality to break it? So some people say, yeah, that means that wherever the moon is seen, the moon is viewed, you can break your fast. Others say, no, you have to see it in your own locality. And their opinion is based on the idea that we do not pray salat at the same time. You see, now in Iran they have already prayed their jama'ah. For example, in America, they have long time prayed their jama'ah in Maghrib, but we are still waiting for Maghrib. We do not pray together, isn't it? We do not pray at the same time. So that is with regards to sun. Now, with regards to the moon, this difference of opinion, there is confusion for ulama. What is the duty? If the moon is seen in one place, because this was not something that could have been verified at the time of the Prophet, because people in, say, for example, in Hijaz, they couldn't be aware possibly of the moon sighting in Africa. Nowadays, it's very easy. You just get in touch or just look at the websites and you say the moon is visible in Africa, or it's seen in Africa, it's viewed in Africa, so we can break our fast here. But at that time, it was not possible. So we don't know what was the opinion of, what was what is the right opinion, what was the correct way of doing it at the time of the Prophet. That's why this confusion has come about. And this is not a shortcoming of our scholars or our marajah. It's a human shortcoming. It's a shortcoming. You go and become a marja yourself and you will see that you will have the same problem, unless if you improvise a fourth moon and you will add one opinion to other opinions. This is not something that could be resolved, and it's not a big issue. I mean, this is something based on, for example, someone is ill and cannot pray, and someone else has the same illness and think that, no, I can pray, there's no problem. Someone is weaker, someone is stronger, for example, or with regards to fast. And here as well, someone thinks that if moon is sighted in one part of the world, everyone should follow and break fast. Someone thinks, no, this is based on local sighting, moon sighting, rather than global ones.
Thank you very much. Next question is, what is the Shia position on cursing the wives and companions of the Prophet?
Well, that's a good question, especially at this time where we have some of our fellow brothers who instigate animosity and hatred among Shia and Sunni by doing such things. The idea, I tell you clearly what is the idea of Shia without any reservation. I don't want to have reservation here or pretend that we believe in something that we do not. We generally, as a Shia, with regards to wives of the Prophet, we have to treat them with absolute respect. There is no doubt about that, because they are attributed to the Prophet, because they are related to the Prophet. And we know that some of them had some political mistakes, some issues, and they actually caused bloodshed. This is clear. I mean, some other people may say that the bloodshed was caused by others, but bloodshed was caused anyhow. And one of the wives of the Prophet took part in that and rode a camel to the battlefield, and many people were killed. They rebelled against the rightful caliph, which was Ali ibn Abi Talib. At that time, they had pledged allegiance, and then they rebelled against him. This is a mistake. However, how did Ali ibn Abi Talib, peace be on him, treated Aisha, the wife of the Prophet? Ummul Mu'minin, as the Quran says, they are Ummul Mu'minin, Ummahatul Mu'minin. So with utmost respect, returned her to Medina and did not break the respect, and this is our duty as well. With regards to personal issues, that is even a sort of blasphemy to attribute anything of indecency to any wives of the Prophets. And Allama Tabatabai rahmatullah alayhi has a very elaborate discussion in Al-Mizan with regards to the ayah when Nuh asked about his son, And the Quran says, Ya Nuh, innahu laysa min ahlik, innahu amalun ghayru salih. Now some exegetes, Sunni exegetes mainly, they say innahu amalun ghayru salih doesn't mean that it is someone who performs, who commits evil acts. They say that it means it's product of an evil act. That means you are mistaken to think that he's your son. Your wife has betrayed you. So he's not your son. He's son of someone else. إِنَّهُ عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ means he's the product of an evil act. Now, Allah Tabatabai elaborately discusses here that it is impossible for prophets to have wives who commit indecency, because this does not become the very mission of prophets. And then you can judge what the Shias believe about wives of the prophets. Now, when it comes to the companions of the prophets, you look at the Sahifa Sajjadiyah, in the third dua of Sahifa Sajjadiyah, in the third or the fourth dua of Sahifa Sajjadiyah, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam has a very long and detailed dua about companions of the prophets. And in that, he beseeches, he calls upon God to bless the companions of the Prophet, to reward them for what they did. And he says, if it was not for the companions of the Prophet, we didn't have the Islam. It was the companions of the Prophet who supported the Islam, who supported the Prophet. And that's true. How many companions Prophet did we have? Tens of thousands of companions he had. Now, in Safin, where Amirul Mu'minin was fighting against Muawiyah, there were 3 or 4 companions of the Prophet in the camp of Muawiyah. One was Muawiyah himself, the other one was Amr ibn al-As. All of them laid converts to Islam, especially Muawiyah himself, who had, of course, converted after the conquest of Mecca. Now, on the other side, on the side of Ali ibn Abi Talib, how many companions do you think they were there? This is the account of Ibn Abil Hadid, the Sunni Mu'tazili scholar, who says on the side of Ali there were 18,000 companions of the Prophets. And that's why when Amirul Mu'minin writes a letter to Muawiyah, he says, I will come to you if you do not submit, if you do not surrender, I will come to you في جحفل من المهاجرين والأنصار, in a big army of Muhajirun and Ansar. And he did. Big army of Muhajirun and Ansar. So our view about the companion of the Prophet is clear as well. Companions of the Prophet. However, this is not a sweeping ideological or theological sort of belief that all companions of the Prophet are infallibles, they are immaculate, without any fault. No, we see that they fought against each other, they killed each other. How could they be all infallibles while they fought against each other? We don't see the prophets doing this against each other. So there were some faults. We have reservations about the way the caliphate was possessed after the Prophet. So we have reservation about them. We curse anyone who did oppress the Ahlul Bayt of the Prophets, the true Ahlul Bayt of the Prophets. And we say, our, of course, dua is always like this. Allahumma al'an awwala zalimin zalama haqqa Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad wa akhira tabi'in lahu ala zalik. The first person who wronged Muhammad and his household's rights, you curse them. And anyone that now, after that, is doing it, you curse them. And I think this is a curse which comes from the Quran. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ لَعَنَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. Those who annoy the prophets, annoy Allah and annoy the prophets, Allah curses them in this world and in the next world. We just follow this verse, nothing more than that.
Thank you. The next question is with regards to fasting. What is the distance that you will become a traveller in regards to breaking your fast?
The distance is roughly about 22.5 kilometers from your city. However, as soon as when you have the intention of such a travel, and you set out of your city, as soon as you go to Haddut Tarakhus, where you have the rukhsa or the permission to break the fast. And that's not 22.5 kilometers. You have the intention of going as far as that, but as soon as you reach outside the city, in a way that in old days they said you don't see the walls of the city anymore, or you don't hear adhan, like about 1.5 kilometers, 2 kilometers. You get away from the city, you can break your fast, provided you have the intention of moving out more than 22.5 kilometers.
And this question follows on quite well. To make up the missed fasts, what is the right way? Is it to do qaza, or is it to pay or feed the poor?
No, you cannot make the missed fast by paying the poor. You have to do qaza. Paying the poor is for those who never can fast in their lives. So they have to pay this sort of makeup for the fast. If someone intentionally breaks the fast, I mean, sometimes we miss the fast because we are ill or because we are travelers, then we have to do qada of it. That's certainly we have to do qada of it. There's no kafara for it. If someone without any excuse breaks the fast, then they have to make the qada, and then they have to pay the kafara for it. And that kafara is 60 days of fasting, or feeding 60 poor people, or, of course, this is not something that at our time is possible, freeing a slave.
Thank you. Just a reminder, if you do have any questions, just keep writing them down on some paper and passing them forward. The next question is about intercession. The Imam in Dua Abu Hamza says on page 7, I secretly converse whenever I want without need for an intercessor. So the question is, when, under what circumstances do we need an intercessor?
In dua in itself is an intercessor for us. So in dua, we don't need anyone to come in, jump in, and we say we do dua to you and you do it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, sometimes the dua of others are more effective than our dua. That's why we ask each other to do dua for us. And that's why the Imam in the same dua of Abu Hamza, he supplicates and asks for others, for his parents, children, brethren, for everyone. That's a type of shafa as well. Shafa is a very wide sort of concept, which can include many things. The Quran we have in Hadith is the best shafi of us, because shafi is someone who brings us closer to something else, or who makes our way easier towards it. This is the meaning of shafa. So recitation of the Quran is a shafi for us. All these acts that we are doing is a shafi for us. As we have in the Quran, وَابْتَغُوا إِلَيْهِ الْوَسِيلَةِ, seek a means towards Allah. And this means is following the Prophet, is performing our worships, our daily prayers, our fast. All these are our means to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We seek a means towards Him. Now, the shafa'a which comes on the Day of Judgment is a different issue. It is sort of broadening or generalizing the mercy to those who do not deserve it. Now, it's reported by Shia and Sunni that whoever denies my shafa'ah on the Day of Judgment, may Allah does not let him have my shafa'ah. Now, if anyone doesn't like the shafa'ah of the Prophet, let them don't like it. They say, we don't want, we make it ourselves. However, I tell you, we all need that shafa'ah. Do not reject it. We all need that. It's something which makes things easier for us, makes those who do not deserve to go to paradise to find a way to it with help of the Prophet, peace be on him. And probably majority of us need that. Majority of us need that. Billions of people would go to paradise not because of their own acts, because of the intercession of the prophets. Now, we discussed about the intercession of Isa alayhi salam. at the end of Surah Ma'idah, if you remember. Then when Allah questions the Christians about Trinity, Isa says, "إن تعذبهم فإنهم عبادك." If you punish them, they are your servants. وإن تغفر لهم فإنك أنت العزيز الحكيم. But you may forgive them. And this is what he asks for. More deeply, Shafa'a is the other side of the coin of guidance in this world. You see, you cling to the guidance of the prophets, of Muhammad, peace be on him, or on the interpretation of the Imams. You cling to it. You are guided by it. You see, Allah does not guide anyone here directly. You have to go through one of the prophets. That's certain. Now, in the other world, this shows itself in form of shafa. If you have followed, you will have help from them. You will have assistance. And that assistance is not just by picking you up. No, it's very automatic sort of assistance. It's systematic. It comes. And as I said, almost all of us need that shafa'ah, which initially comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the prophets, to the imams, to the righteous people, and then generalized to everyone. In a way, Allah really wants to include everyone in His mercy. So anyone who has slightest connection, heartfelt connection to any prophet will go through a process of intercession, but it takes longer, or it will be quicker depending on the faith.
Thank you, Sheikh. Last night you mentioned that there are some practices which many people observe here in the West, but which are not really Shia practices. Can you give some examples so that we can steer clear of them?
Yes, of course. I mean, in my view, tatbir, or hitting the head, or zanjir, hitting oneself, is a disgraceful practice. We may find some sort of justification for it, that we do it for the love of Ahlul Bayt on these things, but it never can be acceptable. It's a disgraceful practice. It's an unreasonable practice. The other thing is instigating hatred among Muslims, insulting other people's sacraments, desecrating what they believe in. As I said, we have reservations about some of the companions of the prophets because of what happened after the prophets. But that doesn't mean that we are allowed to instigate hatred by insulting them and creating discord among Muslims. These are the things that, unfortunately, some of the Shias do not observe and do not take care of.
Thank you, Sheikh. Can someone who is following Sayyid Sistani choose the opinion of Sayyid al-Akhoui in particular, in one case in particular? So, in brackets, they've put the case of the moon sighting.
Yes. Yeah. You see, the better way is to start the fast by Ayatollah Sistani and end by Ayatollah Akhoui. That would be about 27 days or 28 days, isn't it? If one wants to do that, that would be better. No, of course not. I mean, if you follow Marja, you mean that they are more knowledgeable. So why, in this case, you have to follow that? If you want to have the Eid with your family, for example, it's very difficult to have 2 different days, then you can just travel to the distance, break your fast and come back, and then do qaza of that day later on. If you want to be with the family, if, for example, the whole family is following Ayatollah Akhoui, you are following Ayatollah Sistani, this is the way to do it. But not, of course, saying that in this particular issue I'm following that. This is just for facilitating sort of the problems.
Okay, next question is, what is the Islamic opinion on intermarriage between different races and cultures?
Well, the Islamic opinion is very clear, of course. Islam does not recognize as races and does not recognize as cultures. However, sometimes there are complications and difficulties in this. And as much as we have to observe Islam, and try to somehow remove all these barriers, we also have to consider the complications in our community as well. Do not try to somehow put our parents, our family in trouble by violating certain cultural issues, cultural things. Always, I mean, these complications are there. We have to work towards removing them, of course, towards practicing the pure Islam without cultural and regional sort of bounds and restrictions. However, as long as they are there, we have to, of course, respect others as well.
Okay, this question relates to an earlier question. Can a person travel in Ramadan more than 20 kilometers, but choose not to break his fast, especially if he or she is traveling twice every week?
If someone travels twice every week, according to Ayatollah Sistani, they should not break their fast anyway, because they are kathirus safar, and the kathirus safar should not break the fast. So, or once a week. If someone does not stay for 10 days in a place or in their home, then they become kathirus safar, and they should not break their fast. Just like someone whose occupation is traveling or in traveling. For example, they have to travel every day or every week to a certain place and go back. They do not need to break their fast, and they have to fast actually. Now, if someone does travel just once or twice in Ramadan, not as kathirus safar, someone who travels a lot, or not someone whose occupation is traveling or in traveling, then of course they cannot keep the fast. They have to break it. This is something that Prophet advised, that it is not good, because people, since the time of the Prophet, people thought that what's the idea of breaking the fast? Even in travel, we think that because the journeys in the past were difficult, that this was legislated. It's not for now. Even in the past, it was not very difficult for people to fast while traveling. So someone asked the Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, is it good to fast in travel? You say that it's permissible to break. What if we don't like to break? Do we have the choice? And Prophet said, no, it's not good to fast while you travel. So this is what we follow.
Okay. I think we have about 10 minutes left, so hopefully time for a couple more questions. One of them is, which is the greater guide, the Quran or Ahlul Bayt?
You see, whatever Ahlul Bayt have is from the Quran, of course. And the Prophet said, إني تارك فيكم الثقلين كتاب الله وعترتي أحدهما أكبر من الآخر. One is bigger than the other. Of course, that's the Quran. That's the origin. That's the root of everything. However, the Quran cannot be understood correctly without Ahlul Bayt. You cannot understand certain expressions of the Quran, or you continuously, until the Day of Judgment, quarrel about these meanings, unless there is a guide to tell you what is the true meaning of it. That's why the Prophet said, فَإِنَّهُمَا لَنْ يَفْتَرِقَا. They never part from each other. You cannot do with one without the other. Of course, you may say at the time being, at the moment, we don't have the Imam, so we are just clinging to the Quran. That's true. However, remember, what we understand theologically and practically from the Quran is what the Imams have taught us. There's a difference between us and those who do not follow the Ahlul Bayt. Those who do not follow the Ahlul Bayt, some of them say that, for example, Ar-Rahman al-Arsh istawa, Allah is sitting on the throne. It means a real throne. Well, they have lots of course, difficulty in explaining this. They have to resort to their own opinions about this, while this is not something that opinions of human beings can explain. Now, Ahlul Bayt have explained this in the most eloquent and beautiful way. With regards to how we have to do wudu, how do we have to do our salat, Ahlul Bayt have given us the correct sunnah of the Prophet. With regards to social issues, again, Ahlul Bayt have given us the correct example. Was it permissible for anyone to become a caliph after the Prophet, regardless of the integrity of their personality or whatever they did? Imam Hussein told us that no, it's not permissible. He fought against Yazid to show us that it's not permissible. And even if such things happen and people claim successorship to the Prophet, in this way you have to rise up, you have to do something about it. So these are the social issues that Ahlul Bayt have taught us. So you cannot say which one is greater, because Ahlul Bayt are interpreters of the Quran. These are two different, there are two different functions actually here. Quran is revealed to the Prophet, is the guidance. In this guidance, there will be misunderstandings, disagreements, differences of opinion, and then, of course, for that reason, we need someone who can tell us the real meaning, the correct interpretation, and that's when we need the Ahlul Bayt.
Okay, this question. In Islamic countries like Iran, I find it easy to keep my faith, whereas I find it harder back here. Is there a good way, or is there a way that you would recommend to keep faith living in this country?
I don't know whether the person who has asked this question is Iranian or not, but I don't think there is a difference there. No, there is no difference. Faith is something which comes from within, not from without. You may get exposed to different to different sort of instigations, to different temptations. You may get exposed, and here probably more than an Islamic country, but that's not a meaningful difference. People in Islamic countries go faithless, and people here keep their faith more stronger than they do in Islamic countries. So the faith will come from within, and temptations only make the faith stronger rather than weaker. So we shouldn't think that if we live, for example, in Qom or in Najaf, we would be better. Of course, we are not exposed to things to evil things. It's good. That is a better environment. Certainly, we have to try to find that environment around us. And here, of course, in London, we have created that sort of environment for ourselves, in our mosques, in our centers. However, we are exposed to other things as well. But this should make our faith stronger and the reward bigger, inshallah, for anyone who keeps the faith.
I think we've got time for one last question. So the final question before we finish is, leaving Ramadan, do you have any last advice for everyone going forward now?
Well, I have to be advised myself, but since you have told me to give an advice, I think the most important thing that all of us should do, we have to keep the momentum, inshallah. We have to try to continue with the spiritual ambience that we created for ourselves in Ramadan as long as we can. I know it's difficult. Ramadan is a completely different ambience. It's a different spiritual attitude people have. The Quran should be recited very frequently, with attention, with pondering. We should not just recite Quran for thawab of it. We have to ponder on its verses. We have to think what message Allah wants to convey to us. It's not an easy book. Don't think that it's an easy book. Many things in it are said in forms of parables. Many things are said indirectly. So we have to try hard to find out what Allah wants to convey to us. And it's only in that way that Allah will find us suitable to give us those spiritual morsels from the Quran. You see, Allah is not in need of us. So we shouldn't think that when we recite the Quran or we do a worship, we are obliging Him or something like that. He should find us. He should find us deserving those spiritual morsels or teachings, so that He puts it in our hearts. And that needs lots of recitation, lots of pondering, lots of meditation on the verses of the Quran. We should not hurry when we recite the Quran to say, okay, this is something that I cannot accept, this is something that I can accept. No, we shouldn't hurry like that. We have to continue reciting it with good heart, asking Allah to give us that guidance which is in it. You see, Allah says, وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَلَا يَزِيدُ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا خَسَارًا. We send in the Quran shifa, which is the healing of the heart, and rahmah. But for zalimin, it only increases their disobedience, it increases their loss. So if we are one of those zalimin and we continue reading the Quran, it doesn't add anything to us. We have to humble ourselves. We have to say, Ya Allah, we want to learn. Please teach us through the Quran. And of course, for us Shias, Ahlul Bayt is a source of inspiration of these meanings of the Quran. They have inspired us with their deep thoughts and deep knowledge of the Quran, and we have to refer to their teachings as well. And inshallah, Allah will guide us, and we just pray that Allah will give us time until next Ramadan, so that we again start spiritual efforts for purification. And if He does not give us that time, if He has destined that we should go before next Ramadan, we ask that inshallah before He takes us away from this world, He forgives us. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi.